Colonia High School, Woodbridge, New Jersey, 105 cases of brain tumors clustering. Radiation testing being done in the area. From 1975 to the year 2000, out of 15,000 student graduates. These were graduates, not dropouts. Not people who transferred. Are we tracking those? A cluster of debilitating noncancerous tumors and also deadly glioblastomas. A mixture of them. With that one, glioblastomas, they represent 15% of all brain tumors in general. So we should assume, since they're having a mixture of that and other, we should assume if 15% of them have those and 85% have the others that would be considered non-cancerous or benign, even though they're debilitating, which I don't get how that could be both. If they have the glioblastomas, it's one of the most aggressive types of brain cancer, almost always recurs even if you cure it. Less than a 10% survival rate at 5 years, and even lower later, unless you're really rich, in which case you just have the cancerous tumors removed continually until they stop coming back. Coincidentally, if you're in New Jersey, you have a higher likelihood of surviving cancers, even though you have a higher incidence of cancer. Because people in poor states don't get cancer treatment, so I'm sorry, it's terminal cancer because you're poor. It doesn't have the one that's aggressive and dangerous here we're going to focus on. We don't have a method of preventing it. Why? Because we don't know what causes it. Why? Because there's no specific cause for it. Risk factors may include genetics or radiation exposure. So immediately people are going to scream Fukushima and Chernobyl. The conspiracy theorists that have been taught by Russia not to blame Chernobyl will only focus on Fukushima, even though that's fucking stupid. Because they are fucking stupid. How would radioactive material get into your system to get into the brain? It has to go past your eye sockets, in through the nose, from the eye, dripping down into the nose through this tear duct, and then into your lungs, or you swallow the schnot and it goes into your stomach, or you inhale it or eat it on food that's been contaminated. Obviously. Oh, wait a minute, that would cause cancer in the lungs, sinuses, everywhere other than the brain first. Radiation exposure into the skull would be almost required. Well, let's blame 5G, right, for something from 1975 to the year 2000. We're literally in the era where the only cancer-causing things we know about shouldn't be able to cause this, so it's genetics. Everybody in the area has a common ancestor that has a predisposition, or in utero, they were exposed to something their mother ate that really did cause a predisposition of it, because it's a genetic issue caused by what they ate from 1975 to the year 2000. Chernobyl could have affected the milk in the area, and it obviously did. Okay, that sounds good. That's our title card. 7 in 100,000 people get that particular brain cancer that represents 15% of the cases of cancer of the brain anyway. But in this case, we're getting 105 people out of 15,000, but really it's about maybe, let's say, 16 people out of 15,000 students. Now, if we extrapolate that up, we're getting a much higher cluster. Okay, it's a higher incidence of the cancer. In New Jersey, again, they have a higher incidence of cancer, but a lower death rate because they get decent medical care. Gee, if we had socialized medicine, the death rate from cancer would be much lower, wouldn't it? No, it must be higher somehow because conservatism over here, and let's increase the death rate because zero-sum game as far as economics and all the mythology you guys have, right? Benign and deadly cancers, 105 cases in 25 years at one high school, where 15,000 students went through. That's actually considered kind of a low number or high number, depending on where you are. In the United States and elsewhere, studies of cancer clusters have had an interesting and rather annoying effect. They're meaningless. 576 cancer cluster investigations in a 20-year period of time arbitrarily picked. No, it was picked because it was the highest number of them in 20 years. Lots of cancer clusters were studied. that occurred during that 20-year period of time, by the way. I checked on that. One of them had a clear identifiable cause. Out of 576 cancer clusters, only one of them had a successful investigation that would give you any useful data at all. That's 0.1736%. Otherwise known as jack shit. Studying cancer clusters doesn't give you useful information. Why? Out of that 576 cancer clusters, only 504 or 87.5% represented no cancer rate increase. It was just a cluster of them happening. And the death rates didn't change either. They weren't an accelerated death rate. They didn't represent anything unusual. It's just an unusual number of a specific type of cancer in one area, which meant there should be a cause. But there wasn't, because they were one of those cancers that we don't know what the cause is. They just happen. Guess what the 87.5% of the cases that were at standard rate were? They were brain cancers, lung cancers, digestive tract. They were all the cancers. 72 cancer clusters, 12.5%, represented a cancer rate increase. These were digestive tract and lung cancers, downwind of radiation and radioactive material sources, as well as carcinogenic sources from industrial pollution, or a cancer rate increase caused by cigarette smoking, which was the most common occurrence in all of them. They were lung cancer cases that self-inflicted. Has anybody broken down the New Jersey high school, Woodbridge, New Jersey high schools? What type of cancers are they? What's the number? What years? Are you getting any useful information? I'm sure somebody's done a study right now. It's somebody on Facebook noticing this. So all anybody has to do, all 105 of them, because it's only, at this point, it's only 105, they can just submit their medical record and anonymize it so we have the data, right? But there isn't any cancer clustering after the year 2000. That's 22 years ago this stopped being a problem, and it only started being a problem right in the middle of the 1970s. Does it have a curve where there's an excessive amount in 1 year, or is it just spread out cleanly? I get crickets? Well, it's too early. No, it's not. If you have everybody's medical data right in front of you from 105 people, dump the data by removing their name and just make sure that we know, what year they graduated or what year the cancer showed up. What kind of cancer it is and what year it showed up may be the only data needed. And also, their whole history. Where did you live before? Is every one of these people really New Yorkers that moved there over time? Maybe it's just a New York problem. Maybe they're all from a part of the country that had a high cancer occurrence, but they moved there. Or all of them in the family have had these cancers constantly. Oh, there's a bunch of variables. You know what? Let's go back to the radiation. Now, radiation doesn't mean Chernobyl and Fukushima. Those aren't radiation sources, no matter what shitbags tell you. They're carcinogen sources. Radioactive material is a carcinogen. Radiation is a carcinogen, but it's caused by the emissions from radioactive material, right? No. Once you get far enough away from something or it's under enough dirt, it isn't radioactive to you because you can't detect it anymore. But it's there. Unless you're talking about ingestion pathway only affecting the brain, which doesn't really work, except for viruses. Oh yeah, there's certain prions like mad cow disease, but they're not mad cow disease, that only attack the brain. That directly attack the brain and die trying to attack any other cells. That only cause cancer in the brain and just cause cell death in the rest of the body. You get a gut infection, and then 2 years later you have a brain tumor the size of a grape. Coincidentally, it happens to be this kind of cancer, possibly. We don't know, because they all die. You don't open up a dead body at 90. Maybe it's a cancer that normally doesn't happen. If you die from cancer, but you're at 105, are they going to cut your head open to see what caused you to die, or just notice that you had a really bad headache on the last days you were alive? Why would you do a post-mortem on a person who dies of old age? Some cancers grow so slowly that you literally have to be 110 to die from them. And again, nobody would detect it. It would be an incidental notation. Yeah, the person had a cancer that took 100 years to kill them, that they got at 10. So let's talk about this. What radiation source were all of you exposed to in computer classes from 1975 through to the year 2000 when they stopped using cathode ray tube computer monitors? All of these patients have a commonality that's going to be odd. The only one that would come up is they were in a room with computers stacked the way every computer technician has told people not to do. Do you sit behind a TV set to watch it? No. Does your next door neighbor maybe sleep lined up with a cathode ray tube on your TV set? Yes, that's one of the cancer clusters that was tested. That's the one that actually resulted in us finding out that, being able to prove that, yeah, if you sleep with your head lined up with the ass end of a TV set your next door neighbor has in a high congestion environment like New York City during the 1975 to 1980 era, yeah, you might get blasted with radiation through the wall, just enough chronically on the back of your head that you get brain cancers more often. Or not, I'm just blowing smoke up your ass. That's not really true. So you're in a computer training class. The monitor is directly behind you from the other student. Or maybe you are facing each other, but the guys behind you have monitors. Do all of these people have a habit of working or living in an environment where they, or being taught in an environment where there was a computer monitor directly behind their head, basically aiming ionizing radiation at their head? That doesn't have to happen. It can be sideways. Yeah, most of the leaks in every monitor I had to work on, they put shielding up. I mean, really bullshit shielding. Sheet of metal will do it. Around the monitor. Okay, it just has to overlap. They can have holes in it, but the holes have to align properly to where you block out most of the radiation. The radiation primarily is from the ass end of it. That's shielded to hell and gone on every monitor from every legitimate company, unless some idiot got in there and removed the shielding or did a tube replacement and didn't put the shielding back. I've sat down and did what's called the tin can shielding. You literally get one of those little teeny soup cans, little snack size. You make it to where it fits over the back of the thing if you can. You don't need to most of the time because the rest of the monitor blocks it. The coils, the little magnet thingies that are used to get the color matched. Some of you know what I'm talking about. So the only way in most monitors is right out the back end of it. So right back there's a plate shield. The plate shield is usually 2 sheets with no holes in it. I've seen them with holes in it. I've seen them with holes that line up straight with the connector point. A lot of you have if you've taken one apart. It'll have that little thing stuck in the back that looks like an octopus. Doop. It's got no shielding on it. It only needs a thin piece of metal back there to be safe. Or safed. How many monitors did WAPTEC work on? I don't fucking know, but I counted them. 850 monitors checked and repaired when I was running. I'm not discussing the name. My boss had, god damn what a cheesy name. I'm not telling you, but we were in the book. And he made me wear a funny outfit for the ad. I'm not bitter. I'm an acquired taste. So anyway, how many monitors out of, I don't even know, it was like 800 at least listed. I went through and checked. I tested a majority of them at one point. I'm going to say about 200. Out of all of those, I had 5 dozen with shielding problems. So, A, Chernobyl, which would make sense. B, Fukushima, because Russian posers and trolls don't want you to think about Chernobyl for some reason. Or C, screaming in your face, the back of monitors in a computer lab at the shop, in their computer classes from 1975 to the year 2000, which is when that kind of monitor would have been commonly used. And not necessarily shielded correctly, because that's a high rate of failure I found in old and new monitors. Thought for food. So no, I don't believe this is going to be an important subject in a few months because they're going to find out they can't find out what it is because no one would want to blame the school for providing defective monitors. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.